Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers today. Boxer Mike Tyson got into an altercation with a passenger on an airplane in San Francisco. Now, in this incident, Mike Tyson was on a plane in his seat waiting for this plane to take off and head to Miami when an unruly white male passenger began making verbal comments towards him. And as this passenger went from making verbal comments taunting him, your Mike Tyson continued to remain in his seat, and I believe he was waiting for your airport staff or airplane staff to go out here and try to deal with this situation. Now, your Mike Tyson, again, was doing everything to remain restrained in this situation, hoping that either the airplane stewards or stewardesses would go out here and break up this situation, or possibly an air marshal who is on every plane in the United States would go out here and arrest this individual for disorderly conduct. But when this individual then went from verbal taunts to an alleged throwing a water bottle at Mike Tyson, that is when Mike Tyson then decided to go out here and put hands on this individual, giving him a beating that was seen in a video that went viral. Now, some want to say that Mike Tyson is the bad guy in this situation, but I can't say that Mike Tyson did anything wrong here, because the assault started on Mr. Tyson on the plane when this individual decided that he was going out here and was going to verbally taunt him, and those verbal taunts could basically be seen as a threat by someone like Mike Tyson. Because when you go out here and make verbal threats towards an individual, it, according to the law, is an assault, and that assault is basically like throwing the first punch. Now, Mike Tyson did not respond to the verbal taunts. He only responded to the alleged water bottle being thrown at him, and it was then that when he had the water bottle thrown at him that he responded in kind by going out here and beating this individual down. Now, my issue with this whole situation was this whole situation did not have to get to the point where Mike Tyson needed to go out here and defend himself. No, according to our post 9/11 airport security, it's supposed to be your airline staff that is supposed to go out here and deal with rowdy passengers, because they want to ensure that these individuals do not go out here and participate in behavior that puts the threats of the lives of the passengers or the pilots in jeopardy. Because a rowdy individual on an airplane is a threat not only to others, he is also a threat to himself. And if he's out of control when the plane is on the ground, that is the time to remove this individual off of the plane before they disrupt the trip for other passengers. So that's why I'm wondering what happened to your airplane staff. They were the ones who were supposed to deal with this individual, and they were the ones who were supposed to get this individual off the plane before he wound up doing harm to everybody in the air. That's where I have an issue with everything here. Everybody wants to look at Mike Tyson and try to push a narrative to try to make him into a black brute who was out of control. But when I look at this whole situation, it was the white male passenger who was the one who was completely out of control, and he was somebody who, again, airplane staff should have dealt with, because again, we have air marshals on these planes, and if you see a drunken individual acting in an erratic fashion, as it was alleged here, the first thing you would think is that the air marshal would make an arrest of that individual, because acting in a disruptive fashion on a plane is a federal crime. But I believe that this white male, who already had an extensive criminal record, he was given a pass as related to his white skin, and that's the main reason why no one went out here to go out here and arrest this individual when he started assaulting Mike Tyson by making those verbal threats and those verbal taunts. They gave him a pass because he was a white male, and they wanted to give him a pass because here was this white male verbally abusing this black man, and the black man was supposed to sit here and take it over the course of a 4-hour flight. But when this man went out here and assaulted Mike Tyson, he again committed a federal crime, because it is a federal crime to go out here and behave in a disruptive fashion on a airplane. So everybody wants to look at Mike Tyson and say, oh, Mike Tyson was being violent. No, Mike Tyson was legitimately defending himself in a combat situation, and he was defending himself because this individual was escalating their behavior, hoping to get some sort of rise, and he got the rise, and then he got beaten up. But my issue is, hey, where was the air marshal? Where were the airline staff? Because if this individual had gotten into this altercation, the airline would be liable and not Mike Tyson. Now, this guy is looking to file a civil lawsuit talking about how he wants to sue Mike Tyson, but he's, as I see it, should count his blessings that he's not getting federal charges, because he committed a federal crime by taunting Mike Tyson. That's the thing that flies over people's heads in this whole situation. Here's a white male committing a federal crime, and everybody wants to look at Mike Tyson and wants to make Mike Tyson the bad guy, but Mike Tyson is not the bad guy in this situation. Mike Tyson didn't do anything wrong. All Mike Tyson wanted to do was sit in his seat, wait for this plane to take off, head over to Miami to do whatever business he was getting ready to do, and all he wanted to do was go out here and get from point A to point B. But this white male, all he wanted to do was go out here and try to start some mess with Mike Tyson, because many of these white males who feel insecure and inadequate about themselves, whenever they see a black man who is doing well and is in a higher place than they are, this is what makes these men start to feel inferior about themselves. This is what makes them feel inadequate about themselves. And as they're feeling insecure and inadequate about themselves, they want to bring a person, a black man, down to their level. And that's what this guy was trying to do. He wanted to bring Mike Tyson down to his level in the sewer. And what he wanted to do was get Mike Tyson so angry and so riled up that he would go out here and put hands on him. And sadly, Mike Tyson had no choice other than to put hands on him, because he had no choice, because this individual was escalating their behavior to the point where they were violating his boundaries. And when a man violates another man's boundaries, a man has every justification to defend himself in that situation, because if this person would go out here and start putting hands on you, then you have no choice but to defend yourself from this individual. But the media wants to make us believe, oh, Mike Tyson's a big black brute, but there is nothing brutal about this at all. All it is another one of these little beta male toadies who wants to get some attention for himself, and he wound up playing the stupid game with Mike Tyson, and he wound up getting a jacked up prize when he caught a beatdown. And again, it goes back to something Mike Tyson once said. He said that many of these people, social media has made them too comfortable about getting punched in the face. And this guy found out that this is why we didn't start mess back in the 80s when we had no internet. Because if you started mess with a dude in the 80s when a guy could go face to face, chances are you are going to get punched in the face. And that's what happened to this dude. He got punched in the face because he went out here and started some mess, and Mike Tyson finished it. And that's what happens when you go out here running your mouth and you start talking in somebody's face. You are going to get punched in your face, and that's what happens. And again, this is cause and effect. And as I see it, there should be no criminal charges at Mike Tyson, because the real criminal is this white boy who thought, oh, I'm going to get up in this black man's face, bring him down to my level, not understanding he may bring you down with a fist and call it a day. Because that's how it goes out here in the real world, and that's why you don't go out here running your mouth, starting stuff with people, because those people may not be interested in putting up with your mess. And another thing I look at this whole case is I'm wondering, how did a drunk dude get on a plane? Because, again, that's more of that white privilege. Because if a black dude got on a plane drunk, I guarantee you all of that airport staff, they would ensure that he would be taken off the plane. They would say he's inebriated, he's a danger to others. But this white male who is drunk with a long criminal record is allowed on a plane. And what's really sad is he continues to get white privilege, because even though he was drunk, even though he was the aggressor, people want to try to give him a pass. But I can't give him a pass, because he was the one who started with Mike Tyson, and he was the one who created this situation in the air, and he was the one who I see should be arrested for acting disorderly on a plane, because he was the perpetrator of the crime in this situation. And that's the way I see it. I don't see Mike Tyson as the bad guy here, because all Mike Tyson wanted to do was sit on his plane, get where he wanted to go, and all he got was nothing but trouble from an individual who should have never been allowed on the plane by airline staff, because drunk individuals are a danger to themselves. Drunk individuals are a danger to others, and these individuals should never be allowed on a plane. But again, I ask that critical question as related to this whole situation: where were the airline staff or the air marshals? Because they could have defused this situation, and they could have ensured that Mike Tyson had a flight where he could have gotten to point A to point B very safely. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-reader from the author of Spinsterella, A Strange and Unusual Romance, and Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black comes